So my name is Serena and I am the Executive Director of Shuswap Food Action Society. And we have organized a number of workshops and talks today on the topic of food insecurity. And then as the weekend progresses, it goes more into how to improve your own food security. So we're talking about food literacy, we're talking about homesteading, and ways to save money when you go to the grocery store. So I'm just gonna open up with just for people in the audience who are not sure what food insecurity is. It is a household's inability to meet the basic needs because of lack of financial resources. So we know that households that are having a hard time affording food are also having a hard time affording medications, heat, transportation, and providing for their families many necessities. So based on the latest data on Stats Canada Income Survey, 5.8 million Canadians, including 1.4 million children in the 10 provinces, lived in food insecure households in 2021. In BC, it was 1 in 7 households. And these numbers are considered an underestimate because they don't include people living on First Nation reserves, people in remote northern areas, or unhoused people, which are 3 groups that we know are food insecure. Also, according to Stats Canada, the cost of food in Canada increased 9.2% from July 2021 to 2022. A family of 4 can expect to spend just under $15,000 a year on groceries, which is an increase of almost $1,000 from the year before. A single senior can expect to spend $306 a month to buy groceries if they want a balanced diet. So, with unprecedented inflation in the prices of food and other necessities, the incomes of lower income households, such as those relying on social assistance or EI or on any fixed income, is not keeping up with the cost of living. And so today in our panel we have some of the people in our community who are trying to help and are dealing with the people who are facing these issues today. So I'm going to go around and I'll just pass the mic if that's okay. And if you could just introduce your name and your role, and then we will go and also like you to share some stories.
Hi there, I'm Joel Torrens. I'm the pastor and executive director at the Salvation Army.
I'm Vallheri, Semeniuk, and I manage the Second Harvest Food Bank.
I'm Kriese, and I'm the coordinator for the Shuswap Community Response Network.
Hello, I'm Thurston from the Shuswap Family Center, and I'm the executive director.
Hello, I'm McLean-Senft. I'm executive director of Eagle Valley Community Support Society based in Sycamores.
Great, and let's just start. We're going to start with Joel because he's closest to me. And Joel, I want you to tell us about what are some of the things that you are seeing in our community today.
Absolutely. So we have kind of a confluence of things happening right now that are making it difficult to meet needs in the community. One of the things that we've noticed this year is that the food donations at the Salvation Army are down about 25% from where they were in January. But the need is consistent. We might have some months where we're up, but we're seeing between 900 and 1,100 people a month coming through our doors. And while that hasn't changed, the food donations we're receiving, the monetary donations we're receiving are both down because the cost of goods has increased, and people, even donors, are having to make sure that they're being more careful with their funds, with their donations, and that all trickles down to the people that we're trying to serve.
One of the things that we see predominantly at Second Harvest is seniors seniors being stuck in a situation where they have to decide between having a place to live or buying food. Many of the places people have been renting for many years, they've been asked to leave because they're even increasing the rent or they're selling, and these people have nowhere to go. So we have 3 or 4 people living together in some sort of a residential setting, whether it's a trailer, a truck and camper, or a basement suite. And many times what happens is we have people who cannot make their way downtown. They don't have transportation. They have medical issues, and so it becomes very difficult for them to make their way to our facility or Joel's facility to even come and pick up food. We have started a delivery system at Second Harvest where the really critical individuals requiring deliveries we are doing, but we do go through a significant screening process, or we would be delivering to everybody who comes through our doors. Last week we did 137 people in an hour and a half on Wednesday. That's a lot of people coming through to pick up food. So in a month, where our numbers are very similar to Joel's, and so what we see happening is some of the people will go to Joel's facility and then they'll come to ours because they don't get enough food at either facility to have enough food for an entire week. We have also got a lot of seniors and a lot of disabled people who have various disabilities, whether they're physical or other types of disabilities. And so we have to try to accommodate many sectors, the elderly, the working, but unable to be able to support themselves even though they're working 2 and 3 jobs. Both parents are working, children are left at home during the day by themselves. And then we have, of course, street people. We don't have a lot of people who have no facilities to live in, but we do have a lot of people who do not have cooking facilities. They may have a bedroom, but they don't have anything, not even a microwave. And so we try to help them out with hot plates and microwaves and so on. But the situation is very critical for seniors, especially because there's no one there to help them. The cost of living has increased so much, and they are not getting increases in their pensions to be able to meet the new cost of living. And so we say to them, if you can find a place to live, even if it's 2 or 3 people in a particular residence, we will feed you. They can come back 2 days a week. We will give them as much as they need. And that's a tough sell because there's only so much food, as Joel has said, that comes to us to be able to distribute to those in our community that need it.
That's almost heartbreaking when you listen to those stories. The Community Response Network is partners with all the lovely people on the panel here, as well as other organizations in the Shuswap area. And for World Elder Abuse Awareness Day, we did some focal groups and spoke with especially seniors that were at risk. And what many of them were telling us was that even their medication costs have gone up. Dispensing fees have also gone up a little bit. And on those fixed incomes, it's really hard to, some of them aren't taking their medication as they should be taking it. They're trying to make it last longer in order to be able to buy food. Many of them also have a companion pet, which is so important for their mental health and loneliness. And they're struggling because the price of even cat food and dog food has gone up so much. And then of course, when you start not being able to give them as good a quality pet food, then in turn that animal gets sick and they're facing some horrible decisions that they have to make in terms of that very important companion. So what other agencies have reported to us is that there are so many decisions that seniors are having to make with very little help to help them in making those decisions. There's no financial access. They're trying to go to food banks when and where they can. You can phone up any of these agencies here and they will do whatever they can immediately to help someone in need. but they only have so much power and so many tools, and we need to be doing more as a city and in the area as well.
Thank you. Yeah, it is very sad what we see. So the Shuswap Family Center, over 16,000 people walk through our doors annually. And one of the pieces is food insecurity, and we have our community kitchen, our workshops, the community teaching garden, all those things. And we've noticed in the last year, as we spoke about the seniors, is the demographic coming through the door has been senior women whose rent went up and they became homeless. So thank you for all you guys are doing. It's really sad. The other thing we've noted is people who have been donating in the past are now in our lineups. And this is very sad to see. These are what, as you were speaking about, the working poor. They're working 2 and 3 jobs, trying to keep their cupboards full. So we provide a lot of crisis food. There's no funding for this. Like, there's no government agency, municipal, federal, or provincial that gives us money for crisis food. I have a group of volunteers who bake and cook, and we freeze things. We have baggies to give out. We have the community teaching garden. Again, it's a transportation issue to get people to and from places. People are tired, they're exhausted. Being hungry all the time is exhausting. It also creates anxiety, mental health. And when we can't feed our children, the anxiety increases. So as a community, we need to come together and start being connected. And we've been 2 years of being disconnected. So it's time for us to get up, speak up. I think there's an election October 15th, and we need to start making people understand just because your belly's full doesn't mean the person next to you's belly is full. So it's just time. It's time for us to reach out and start giving back more than we've ever given back before. Thank you.
My agency holds a large regional contract for a seniors services program called Better at Home. And we were awarded that contract in 2013 because we had a very comprehensive senior support program in Sicamous, and we had sort of a model for that the United Way, who holds the funding for that program, liked. And this last couple of years, we serve all of the Shuswap community, so Salmon Arm is our largest community, but we also serve Chase and Enderby. And we experienced in the last couple of years much more sort of going into the homes of seniors than we had in the past. We would provide housekeeping, yard work, minor home repairs, just things that help to keep seniors in their home. That's the point of the program. And when COVID happened and the housekeepers weren't able to go in, the program switched to being able to do grocery shopping and delivering to homes. And we began to have a closer connection to the seniors. A lot of the volunteers around the Shuswap that were delivering groceries to them, we began to talk to them about what was going on. And we were very shocked to find there are large numbers of seniors in the Shuswap, rurally and in Salmon Arm, that were struggling to the degree where, they would drop off groceries and the house was freezing cold. And these people they're turning the heat down because they can't afford it. And so I think there's we definitely saw a pattern to who's struggling. They're single people struggle. A couple, really literally receives twice the income if it's just government pensions that people are living on. So those that don't have private pensions struggle, but singles struggle far more. And many seniors are have an adult child living with them, maybe an adult child with a mental health condition or a grandchild living with them, and no extra money to support that person's needs. And so it really raised our awareness of the challenges that there are for seniors. And I feel that we've reached a point where we can't ignore what we know, and we have to provide more supports. This is a population that very often finds it difficult to ask for help. It's not part of their culture in the way that young families are not afraid to come asking for help if they're looking for it. And so it's not only important that we recognize it, but it's important that we recognize the ways to help that are going to be acceptable to seniors. So I feel, there's, I keep saying in my community, when people say, what can we do? Educate, advocate, and donate would, those are sort of the three things that would help. But there is more to it than that. There are, we need to have kitchen programs where seniors can come and be with other seniors and cook in large quantity and take food home. They're more comfortable with that. Programs that allow them to give something back. Programs that support them growing a bit of a garden in their own yard. And we need gardens. We need a lot more gardens because we struggle to access produce when we were delivering to households. We need to grow our own food much more in this area. So that's really for us, as an organization, we of course are focused on everyone that needs support and needs food, but we are very concerned about what we've seen happening with seniors in the last couple of years.
Thank you all. So one of the things that Shuswap Food Action Society has been advocating for several years to our city council is a strategy on food security. And that's both looking at, making sure the Shuswap is growing a larger proportion of their food, because we have seen in the last 2 years that, our grocery stores have been empty. And, there is vulnerability when you're relying on food coming from other countries and from the coast. So that's one of the things, and also just talking about household food insecurity and how, feeding people is a human right. So everyone has the right to food. In the last strategic plan that they recently approved, the food security strategy was seen as a medium-term priority rather than a short-term. So short-term means that they would deal with it within a year or two, and medium-term is more like 3 or longer. So I just want your opinion. Would you see a food security strategy as an immediate need or a medium-term need? And maybe just one reason why.
It's an immediate need, and it's not just an immediate need, it's a past due need. We're 10 months removed from an event where I had to deliver a refrigerated vehicle to Kamloops so that it could take food to the workers in Merritt who were working to get it back on board. And while I was in Kamloops, I stopped in at Tim Hortons and I wanted a BLT. And they said, well, we can't give you the L or the T. Would you like just bacon on bread? I mean, that's supposed to be the most basic experience that a Canadian has, to just go to Tim Hortons and have something there for you. And they didn't have lettuce or tomato, which are the most redeeming factors of that particular sandwich. And if we can't get that at the place that we're always supposed to be able to go to, I think that we had the fragility of our infrastructure exposed less than a year ago. And that was when we realized that this issue is past due. It's not even enough to say that it's an immediate issue.
Yes, I have to agree with Joel and his comments, and Serena as well. It's an immediate need. We have to get people who need our help. We need to be able to get to them quickly and provide what they need. We also find that our resources aren't what they were 2 years ago prior to COVID. Last year we had 20,000 people that we looked after. We had 7,600 come into our store, and then their families make up the 20,000 people. That's a lot of people who come to our facility because they don't have any food. And I think that we have to do a couple of things. I agree it has to be an immediate need, but I also think we have to do something to help these people with accommodations. Accommodation and rental accommodation in Salmon Arm is at an all-time low. And It's making it very difficult for people who do not have the funds to move into a facility or into a property that they might be able to afford as well as buy food. We say to them, you find a place to live and we will feed you. And we're delighted to do that. But what's happening too is we're finding that people are only a heartbeat away from being in the same situation. People who are coming to us now lost their jobs because they did not get vaccinated. They have no unemployment insurance. They have gone through their savings and now they're coming to us horribly embarrassed and humiliated that they even have to do this. So our entire culture is changing, and I think that we need to make our federal and provincial bodies and municipal bodies aware of where we're at, because I really don't think they have a clue where we are and what we need to do.
Thank you. I think that, I know, I agree with Joel and Valerie in terms of this is a past due need, so it needs to be switched to immediate, or whatever they want to label it. One of the things we need to keep in mind too is that there are so many working poor, disadvantaged, that when we talk about not having transportation, we actually don't know their food insecurity needs. We don't hear from them. And there are, by all indications, many, because they aren't getting able to come in and access the services out in town. But each of us, we know someone, and we have friends, and we have relatives, and even though our fridges are full, and we're blessed to be able to go to the farmer's market or grow some vegetables, others aren't. So what are we doing as a community to keep an eye out for our neighbors and our friends, and to report those numbers, and to make sure that council is aware that this isn't just a small group of the unhomed, or just a few people that are visiting the food banks. These are huger numbers that what we're seeing at these agencies, and hopefully more and more people will look and will report and say, like, use your voices and to speak up for those that don't have a voice.
Thank you. Yes, it is a past due need. It's a critical need, actually. We all got up this morning and had breakfast and had that opportunity and that choice. And so we don't know what it's like to be hungry, perhaps. Maybe some of you do. But it is an immediate need, and the numbers are rising, as everyone has said. It is way past due, and I believe that we need to speak up and look out for our neighbors. I think we've been disconnected for 2 years, and it's time to connect and be part of our community and help each other out. Thank you.
Obviously, I would agree that it's a past due need. It's a huge priority, and I think that if we compare what would happen if 60 to 70,000 people who lived in Salmon Arm went to City Hall and advocated on their own for something to happen, we would not be thinking that this is something we could do in 3 to 5 years. But this is a silent population, and so we have to speak for them. People need to educate themselves, and we have to do a better job of this, including councils from all of the communities in the Shuswap.
All right, well, thank you guys. I think that was a clear yes. So if, City Council is listening to this, I think they gave some good arguments. On the final note, I want to end on hope. And so I would like each one just to share, what is one thing that keeps you hopeful?
This summer is the first year that we've had our community food forest going. And huge thanks to Food Action for partnering with us on that. And I had a woman come in and tell me that she made a wonderful pasta sauce using herbs that she picked from our herb spiral and dried in the sun. And that's just one story, right? That just gives you joy, because when we planted that, I was thinking the tomatoes, the peppers, the zucchini, but her mental health and her physical health were improved because she had access to fresh herbs that were the easiest thing to just put in the ground and see them grow.
I think one of the most important things that we can do as agencies and individuals is let's talk to our governments. We need to be pounding away at them, letting them know that this is a very real problem for not just our wee towns, but the whole world is in an upset right now. But we're worried about Salmon Arm and the surrounding districts. Janet and her group in Sycamoose, we have to keep after them. We can't lay back and not keep after them about improving what they're paying seniors, how they're accommodating them, and making things more available to them. These are the people that built this country, that built this town. And I don't believe that they're being treated with the respect that they deserve.
Thank you. One of the things that keeps me passionate about the work that I'm doing is these people that show up at the table. And I can tell you that if you're in the nonprofit sector, you're not making a lot of money, but you care so much about what you do that you often give a lot of what you do make to other people to help along. So they're not rich. And they keep showing up and they keep wanting to do more for our community. So that's what motivates me.
Thank you. That's what I was going to say. It is the people here, the people that showed up. It gives me hope every day. It's every day going to work, looking at those faces, that go out behind their windshields and fight every day for those people that don't have.
We have so many stories, so many experiences that give you hope. Every day in Sycamoose we have a room. It's on our building. It's in our building, but it has its own access. And it was designed that way so that people who were maybe not comfortable coming and asking for food always just had access. And we call it the free produce room. It has a refrigerator in it and shelving, and it always has food staples there. Lots of potatoes and onions and things like that, and then there's usually in the refrigerator there'll be other types of food. We usually always have apples. So it's what gives me hope is the number of people who start out going there, and it sees about 350 people a month go in, and they when they start to come into the office and say, this is a great service and we think it's really wonderful, or they start to exchange, because we encourage people if they're concerned about just sort of taking and not giving. So we encourage everybody, if you grow a garden, exchange. And so we see more and more of that, but it's the number of people who take a moment and stop in and say how much they appreciated it. And we had an experience with a farmer who was encouraged by another farmer to donate, and he brought plums, yellow plums in, and some purple plums. And when he came in, he was quite gruff about it and everything. He said, well, my neighbor says that people will take this stuff if I bring it in here, so I'm bringing it, and somebody better take it. And so a couple of days later, this mom came in, and she said to me, I don't know what those little yellow things were. Okay, yeah, just must have. She said, I don't know what those little purple and yellow things were, but my kids love them. They've never eaten anything like that before. And so we explained that they were plums, and they grow easily in the area. And so then I called the farmer and I said, people took them and they love them. And I told him the story of a little girl. And he's been an absolute regular supporter ever since. Everything he can grow, he brings into the free produce room. And so I think it does give you hope. Those stories that people they're learning and they're becoming more aware. And it does give you hope every day.
Great, well thank you, and I think everyone knows that it's a great time to get involved. I think almost every organization in the Shuswap is looking for volunteers. So if you are, if you want to get connected to your community, and if you want to, the one thing about volunteering is it really fills that emotional bucket, that spiritual bucket, and that's the reason that people do it. And it's actually, they've proven that it's good for your health, that people who volunteer, they live longer and have less chronic disease. So there's lots of good reasons to volunteer. If if you don't have time or you don't want to make time, but you have lots of money, you can also give money to organizations. They always appreciate that, and then we'll use that money to help other people. So I just want to thank everyone. I really want to thank our speakers. I want to thank all of you who showed up, and I want to thank Buckerfields who are recording this so that we can share it with other people. And I also want to encourage everyone to go out and vote in October. And, you know, City Council, all the meetings are posted online, and so you can watch and you can learn which councillors are supporting your ideas and vote for those ones. So thank you very much, and goodbye.